Welcome to the Learning Can't Wait podcast, a Full Mind production. At Full Mind, our vision is to ensure every child has access to an exceptional education. Each episode, we will be joined by pathfinders within and around the education space who are bringing about transformational change on behalf of deserving students. I am your host, Hayley Spira-Bauer. Welcome back, everybody, to the Learning Can't Wait podcast. I have an incredibly exciting guest for you all today. We have Peter Relan, the chairman of MathGPT AI and the founder of UWeb Incubator. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you, Hayley, and I really appreciate you inviting me here. I'm excited to talk about math and AI, and let's jump in.
No better time than today to talk about math and AI. There is not an episode that goes by lately where we don't touch on AI in some way, but it will be the central theme of our conversation today. And I'm really excited for you to talk about what you're working on and why you're working on it. But we'll start off with our typical first question. Peter, how did you come to be the personal and professional version of yourself?
That's a really interesting question, and it actually does tie to mathematics to some extent. On a professional basis, I came here at 18 to from India to attend college, and I graduated from UCLA. And I was good at math, and so I ended up choosing a STEM major and doing well in it. But during that time, I was also a math tutor. And I saw a lot and I was doing computer science, and I saw a lot of students who were struggling and literally making life decisions based on whether they could get through one midterm in some algebra or calculus class, and they'd say, this is too difficult. I'm just going to switch to art history or psycho. Not that those are incorrect or bad majors, but I could see that this is a difficult topic for many people at a time of real gateway in their life of where they're going to head. So that got me interested. I was already doing computer science. I've always believed personally in education changing lives completely. I am the child of refugees in the India-Pakistan split. My parents had nothing when they came to a refugee settlement in Delhi, and they lived there for close to 15 years before they moved out to a real home that they could call theirs. And I was born in this settlement, and we came from poor resources. What changed our lives, all of the siblings, is education. They saved up money to send us to the best schools while living in a very slum-like environment. So I'm a big believer in education, changing lives, solving even equity gaps. I love math. And today I'm here to use AI professionally as a professional to bring this enormously important subject, especially in America, and make it possible for everybody to choose whether they want to be in a STEM profession, as opposed to feel they have no choice. So it's kind of interwoven, my personal life story, the importance of education, personally the importance of math education in allowing people here to be part of the future.
Peter, thank you so much for sharing that story. It's an incredibly powerful testament to the power of education, as you say. You shared an anecdote before we started recording about your teacher. Where is she now?
So the reason I got good at math is in my school that I went to. I met her when I was in seventh grade, and she's 101 now. I met her in seventh grade. We're talking 50 years ago. And she's still in Delhi, in India, in not teaching, of course. But that's what changed the course of my love for math, was this amazing teacher who is alive today, and I can still send her a message if I want about how it changed my life. Teachers are incredibly important in this world of AI. I think a lot of people think AI is going to take away jobs. We're not going to try to do that, because what you're trying to do is scale great teachers or create great teachers and give them superpowers. We're not, and I look at my teacher, who's 101 now, and I would hate for anything to replace her. That would be the worst thing in the world. We don't want to do that.
I love that. And we'll touch on this topic in just a second. I want to dig a little bit more into your history though, because I do think there's so much of your story that serves as like foundational steps towards what you're doing today. You're not new to the tech space. You've been working in tech in various ways for a couple years now. Can you talk about how the experiences that you had before the work you're doing now with MathGPT led you to this particular question that you're answering?
Yeah, I mean it's a great question. I reflect on it's a bit of a miracle I am where I am. I think there's a lot of luck involved. There's hard work involved. There's hopefully some smarts involved, I'd like to think. But essentially, I started my career working for a startup at the age of 21 when I graduated. And I got a feel for Silicon Valley startup work, but I ended up then soon going to Hewlett Packard for many years, which in those days was sort of the godfather of Silicon Valley. David Packard started it from Stanford. And I learned a lot about the importance of how Silicon Valley as an innovation engine, right, was sort of the heart to so many technical innovations. So I fell in love with Silicon Valley. I fell in love with technology. Working at the place where it was founded, really 1931 during the Great Depression is when they started Hewlett Packard. Then I went to Oracle, did a bunch of work for, and Oracle, Larry Ellison, the boss of Oracle, was recently in the news, and he's working with Sam Altman on the Stargate data center, right? So he's still at it at the age of 80. Amazing. And so I literally learned about tech from some of the greats, right? And being, in there, I was a vice president of internet at Oracle, bringing internet technology. So once I'd fallen in love with technology and the innovation cycle, I then decided to get into startups. And that led me to founding an incubator, helping entrepreneurs start their companies. That is an amazing experience. And that is where I discovered the entrepreneur who helped start MathGPT. So for me, the love for technology, which came from being good at math, right? So it starts with being good at math, love for technology, and then startup experience, and then sharing that. It's my way of educating now, is like I've done well. I can now go back to the same community of technologists and say, how can I teach in a way? But I'm not a certified teacher, so I'll teach in this mentoring way by running this incubator. And that I've been doing for 17 years. Now we've had some good hits, including one you may know of, Discord, which is a big chat platform. So it kind of brings great founders to us who want to learn. And then that's how we got into the MathGPT world. It's kind of, you can see the trajectory from love of math to this, to that, to
Yeah.
technology to an incubator. There is a very interesting twist to that, which is my journey as a math tutor when I was at UCLA in college. So that I can certainly talk about if you're
Yeah,
interested.
let's hear it. Because I think we're all leading to this question of what is MathGPT, why now, and what is the future of teaching and learning in mathematics. So tell us about your time as a tutor, and then we'll dive into the rest.
Okay, great. Yeah, I love this part of my journey. I was 19 years old, and I was good at math, and I was surrounded by a lot of brilliant students, but also students who were struggling with math. So I'd run into people and say, "Can you just help me with this math or that math?" I had a small reputation in my part of town and campus, and so I officially became a math tutor. Now, what I struck me was, a lot of math education and math tutoring is focused on early school and middle school and high school. And there is an assumption that by the time you're in college, you're either good or you're not, right? That assumption bothers me because you're also by that time making decisions about life. Like, am I going to be a STEM major? Am I going to be a doctor or a nurse or a electrical technician? Should I even do for a full 4 years of college? Should I do? This is that age. And if there is a pre-baked assumption about this, it feels irrecoverable. Like if you like, I'm sure you've, been through school, college. If you've been through middle or high school and you don't feel you're good at math, right? It feels irrecoverable. I don't know math, so I'm just going to be this major or that major, right? And I started to see that phenomenon, and that to me was unfair. Just because you didn't have great math skills earlier didn't mean that you had to switch, even though you might want to aspirationally, right? Be in a STEM field or a STEM related field. So I used to see these students say, "Oh man, I really messed up that midterm in calculus or algebra. You know what, Peter, I'm just going to switch to, this other major where I don't have to take these classes." And to me, it occurred to me they're making life decisions based on one day. And that was where I really realized the importance of math education, whether you do it early or whether you do it late. But the gateway period of college really became my central focus because I could see that's the last chance, right? Or almost. I mean, you can always do adult learning later and professional courses.
But it can be really expensive. So let's talk a little bit about MathGPT. Its goal for, I know a lot of it is centered around community colleges and ensuring that students have what they need and really trying to democratize education. So let's talk about it. What is MathGPT? Why was it created? I did a little blurb there, but I know you'll do much better than
Yeah.
me.
Okay. Yeah. Now you have you know the focus. So the focus, because of my experience at UCLA, is higher ed. So much of our focus today in math learning is everywhere else, K through 12. If you look at all, even previous podcast shows, you'll see that they are, when you've hosted them, they've hosted speakers who are talking about middle school or talking about early school, right? Everybody's focused there. We found that very few resources were being applied to higher ed. And to me, higher ed isn't just the classic, oh, are you going to a top 100 university? To me, it is the broad-based community college system. It's one of the best in the world we have. And certainly in California, we have one of the best. So to me, it occurred that there's 10, 15 million students in these community colleges, first year, second year students, and so many majors are dependent on taking statistics, college algebra, or calculus. So many majors, even nursing, right? So what MathGPT does is say, let's focus on these fundamental math courses. We're not focused on advanced, mathematics for PhDs or mathematics for, aerospace engineering or whatever. We're focused on college algebra, pre-calculus, calculus, and statistics. And providing first, the journey begins with the instructor. So our goal is take these core subjects that are required for so many professions when you go to community college or college. Start with the instructor, give them superpowers to make their students better. It's that simple. I've found that if you start with the student, you will find students who want to take the shortcuts, right? Because they're just trying to, they have a tough life. A student is, sometimes working part-time, sometimes not, taking these courses, getting discouraged. So if you come straight to the student, they will look for the fastest way to get their grade and move. Whereas if you really want to make them math literate, math learning oriented, it starts with the instructor. So MathGPT is an instructor focused tool that gives students an AI tutor, which the instructor controls, and assignments that are tutorable, which the instructor controls. So it gives really an instructor the ability to run a classroom much more scalably, much more efficiently than students coming middle of the night saying, "Oh, I got this quiz and I don't know this," and the instructor's like, "How can I help you at this point now?" It's a human scalability problem, right? So that's what MathGPT AI is solving, is a human scalability problem for these amazing instructors who are doing the best they can for their students. Then I can get into the features and what exactly it does, but I wanted to give you the philosophy of MathGPT, where it's focused and why.
Peter, I think we have more in common than folks might believe. And I'm going to ask a question that's very leading, but it'll illuminate why I said I think we have more in common than folks might believe. Which the question is, do you think that AI can replace great teachers, Peter?
Great question. I will start out by saying no. It is not the goal, and it is not a noble goal. I know that AI brings out automation. We know that. There's no issue with recognizing that there are certain jobs that AI will actually automate away. The teaching and instructor's job is, in my opinion, sacred because there is something more going on there than the delivery of content and tutoring. There is a relationship being built. There is a confidence being built on an interpersonal level between an instructor and a student that is really a human connection. So the goal of AI, when people talk about, oh my God, AI will take over the world, it'll take away all the jobs, da da da. there are jobs that you really do want to protect, and you want to make AI their assistant, right? Not the co-pilot, if you will. You cannot take away a teacher's job, in my opinion, having been a tutor, having taken lessons from a great mathematician and great math teacher. There's too much of a human element involved, other than the math content itself, that instructors bring and carry, that it is not replaceable. So we basically came to MathGPT with the idea, we're not going to replace the instructor. Now let's talk. And how do we scale them? Great teachers, if they can be scaled, are amazing, right? They can reach more people more efficiently. So that's kind of the heart of it. I'm a big believer in this. We will be stuck to this theme for a very long time, that this is about enabling and scaling instructors, not replacing them.
So let's talk a little bit about, a novice community college teacher who's using MathGPT. How might they use it in a given classroom to support students? And what could we expect outcomes-wise from their implementing that tool?
Yeah, that's interesting, especially your last question about outcomes. So let me come to the first part. So the goal of MathGPT wasn't to fundamentally change the way they teach as much as to scale the way they teach and to make it more efficient. So if you look at how a typical community college instructor would teach a class, they would pick a textbook, they'd pick their materials that they want to teach, right? Let's say it's pre-calculus or statistics. They know they've taught it before. They'll have some lecture notes, they'll have some textbooks. They'll want to give assignments throughout the quarter or semester. They'll want to have to grade them. And they're used to both in-class questions as well as offline questions and office hours. This is their life, right? So you just take a look at their life and you say, at every point in this life, how does AI help? So what we do is tailor MathGPT AI for each part of their life. There are three parts of their life. Course management, we call it. So with MathGPT.ai, you can upload your textbooks, your PDFs, your lecture notes, click, suddenly entire thing is automatically tutorable. So now what you've done is you've said, hey, I have this great content. If you can't find me in my office hours, and if you can't reach me in the middle of the night, you have something by your side 24/7, which understands this content automatically, and it will be able to teach you concepts, give you examples, work through, practice problems all the time. So that's the first thing. Get your course in and make it tutorable, which is what they do anyway, but now we've scaled it, right? So we always come back to, now we've scaled it. Now we've made it more efficient. Second thing, every 2-3 classes, they have to give a quiz, they have to give assignments, right? So here we go. We have a built-in AI-based assignment and quiz manager or test manager. They just have to select, given this content that I've entered, generate a few interesting problems for me for this quiz. Generate a few interesting test questions for me with multiple choice. Click, now they have those. Again, this could take them several hours. We made it a click of a button. Scalability and efficiency. And the last piece is a conversational AI tutor that is cheat proof. It is Socratic. It does not give you answers. It does not even solve problems for you. It keeps asking you questions in many different ways. How would you do this? What would you do if it was like this? Oh, you didn't get that right? Well, what if you did this instead? That's how the conversational tutor works. And so they suddenly have a way that they would have answered the questions for the student, because instructors don't want to just give the students, here's how you solve the math problem, or here's how your quiz is solved, right? So we took all three aspects of their life, which is course management, assignments and grading, and then answering student questions, and we embodied it in MathGPT AI with everything being controlled by the instructor. How much tutoring they can get, how many sessions. You don't want the students to become completely reliant on the tutor to help them with everything. So you can control how much tutoring you offer per assignment, for example. Right. So that was part one. I think you had a second question about outcomes, right?
Outcomes, yeah. What outcomes can we expect from I obviously some scalability and time savings. You've emphasized that very clearly. And I can see, that's one of the big benefits of being able to use AI to supplement a teacher's workload. Any others that you would expect?
So I think they do what their kids should do well. There's no question, whether it's high school, whether it's middle school, every teacher wants great outcomes and results, right? So first is, our thesis statement is, look, you can't have good outcomes if the teachers and instructors are overburdened and can't handle the class, right? A class consists of 3 or 4 classes at any given time. It consists of, let's say, at least 3: the below average student, the at grade level student, and then the above grade level student, right? So there's below grade level, at grade level, above. If you're taking a pre-calculus class, there could be below grade level students who are not even familiar with the core stuff in college algebra that's needed for pre-calculus, or the stuff in pre-calculus that's needed for calculus, right? So now you have 3 classes you're running. And that's quite common. We hear that. There's just always these 3 levels, right? So now the first thing is, don't remove the overburdening of the otherwise they can't get great outcomes. And that's what we did with this efficient workflows, right? Now they have time. They can look at the analytics of everything that MathGPT provides. What student was struggling in what area? Or was the entire class struggling with this one lesson that we gave? They get real-time analytics. So now they can plan better for their next class, right? Oh, this quiz I gave on the last lesson on, let's say, some concept in pre-calculus, the whole class was just struggling. All the students were just not able to get the quiz. MathGPT was giving them hours of tutoring, and they still couldn't get it right. So they get that data. So the first thing is, change as you go along to the level of students at the class. By definition, better learning, better use of your time, right? We've got so many professor quotes saying, first line of defense, MathGPT is amazing, right? Before they come to me, they get to work on it themselves with this conversational tutor. And they're so much better prepared when they come to me with their final question on if they can't understand something. So that is mini outcomes, right? I mean, we all know that the governments and all the agencies that monitor this want final outcomes, which is grades and math scores, right? So we're in hundreds of classrooms today. What we have seen is lots of quotes and direct sort of reference on the mini outcomes, how their students are just fundamentally at a better place than before MathGPT. This year, we're going to be working with a really great research group at Stanford to measure the quantitative outcomes. So I wish I had more quantitative outcomes for you, but
But it's
that's the
coming.
goal
It's
this year.
coming soon.
It's
It's like
coming.
dot,
It's
dot,
coming.
dot. There's
Just
little
yes,
ellipses. Yeah, I got you.
absolutely. Yeah. The actual, what were the grades before and after for those who took MathGPT, those who didn't? That's this year's work, and we're pretty confident it will be good, but we have to prove it, right? What we want to prove is that the final outcomes, which determines careers, your GPA and whether you get through a class. But the low-hanging fruit to me is obvious. There are states in which community colleges are telling us their first-time pass rate of a math class in year 1 of community college is 14%. So we know there's low-hanging fruit here. I mean, we don't have to wait very long to
Sure,
take that 14% to a higher number. It's so
sure.
low, right? So,
Right.
and these are particularly states where there's an equity gap, right? Where a lot of the students could be from disadvantaged minority groups. So we are definitely looking forward to publishing some. I mean, I know that data is going to be great, but we'll have it back. Maybe we'll talk again at the end of this year, and we'll have the data for you.
Sounds like a promise. For those listening,
Okay.
that sounds like a
I
promise.
I I so I may have to eat my words on this, but I'm pretty sure I don't.
No, listen, at the end of the day, teachers have a lot of tools at their disposal. They have a lot of materials and resources. And with the advent of, generative AI and the way that it's proliferating in the education space, it has the potential to do so much good in the support of great teachers. And we have to be judicious. We have to know that our tools are working and that they're benefiting kids and that they're making teachers' lives better. And there's many ways to quantify that. But the fact that you all are pursuing study with Stanford is a really good indicator that you too care deeply about outcomes and that this isn't just about, pushing your tool and getting it to be widespread. That those two things have to go hand in hand, especially today as we're seeing the education landscape change so dramatically with our political climate. There's a lot of uncertainty. So, knowing that your tool is effective and implementing when implemented correctly is very important. Peter, I have a question for you. Another question for you. What is your favorite feature of the tool?
Ah, this is amazing. So it turns out that whether you're in middle school or high school or elementary school or college, there is this notion of a shy student. One of the things that everybody's pointed out, there are two I will talk about. Okay. One of them is for the student, and one of them is for the teacher, for the instructor. So for the student, it turns out that when they hit the button saying, ask MathGPT, they could be reading a chapter, they could be looking at a lecture note, they could be solving a problem. There's always this button 24/7, ask MathGPT, right? And what I love is as soon as you hit that button, it knows where you are, right? Because you're in the right part of the application for that, right, for your content, your assignment. And it immediately says, I'm here to help you. What would you like to know? Here are 3 interesting questions that you might want to ask. Imagine the experience of somebody who is simply asked, what would you like to know about this? What problem do you have? So many students have told us, we don't even know what to ask. Sometimes we look at something and I don't know how to phrase what I have in my mind. So what we've done is make it really easy for this student to immediately engage, to like, here are 3 interesting questions that people ask about this problem or this assignment or this content. And the engagement is amazing then. It's like a quantum level higher because they don't have to, that shy student who didn't raise their hand in class because they weren't
Yeah, it
sure.
wasn't me, but yes, I know about
I
them.
know
I
it's
taught
not
many of
us. That's
them.
why we're on
Yeah,
podcast, but
for
it's
sure.
not people like you and me. So many students have written to us that I can talk like I've never talked before because I know that I'm not embarrassing myself. This is just a private session with MathGPT and me. We call it MG inside the product. So between MG and me, I can say anything, and it's so infinitely patient, and it just waits and it keeps suggesting more questions. I feel literally this. I feel liberated to learn, right? So that to me is that, we always looking for the human, where does the emotional connection come, right? And when I mentioned AI cannot replace instructors, well, we still try to be as connected to that student. So we meet them where they are. This generated suggested questions is an amazing. I mean, it's changed the picture from engagement, let's say, of 1x to like 3x, right? That's for the student. I love that feature. It gives me goosebumps. The idea that students who are shy, who are embarrassed, who feel ashamed that they don't know math, boom, they engage, right? And second, for the instructors, there's a theme that right now that AI is not trustworthy. Instructors are worried. They're simultaneously curious about AI, but remember the most trite example, calculators, no calculators in class. Yes, calculators, it's inevitable, right? Instructors are a little paranoid about AI because one, they also feel, is it going to replace me? Two, they don't trust it. There's been too many examples of AI having gone off and done some weird, hallucinations, they call them, right? So for the instructors, the favorite feature that I love is we have created something called guardrails. It makes sure that once we absorb the content into MathGPT AI, 100% accuracy. It will be guardrailed. We check everything and we make sure we will not make a mistake when delivering tutoring or the lesson, which has been a problem in generative AI because of this famous, the word of the year in 2023 after ChatGPT came out by the Cambridge Dictionary was hallucinations. It was everywhere. And,
Yeah.
and that caused a bit of a, like, can we trust this technology? And what we say is, MathGPT technology that instructors trust and students love. So those are my 2 features. I love guardrails for the instructor to be, it's cheat proof, it'll be accurate. And 2, for the student, it'll suggest questions for you all the time. So you can be a shy student and still get great, And so we hope, that's what impacts the outcomes. Back to your original question. We'll come back to that.
We sure will. Peter, I appreciate the way you think about how teaching and learning can look different and for whom it can look different. When we talk about community colleges and we talk about entry math classes, those can be costly, taking up much of the available funds that students have to pursue their degree, and often results in students not finishing their college degree as a result. And
Yes.
so this is an equity question. And I know that that is central to your work and central to your life and your life's work. So thank you for touching on that in your conversation today. For my final question, I'm wondering for you, what advice would you give a teacher starting their career today, perhaps teaching math at a community college?
Yeah. Well, I think, first of all, the teaching math at community college is a challenging job. Let's all recognize that. If one of our this community college systems we saw has a 14% first time pass rate, that's a huge problem, right? And as you said, it is a problem that costs students money, right? And so we have a community college teacher, first time teaching math or whatever. It can be challenging to understand already walking in the class that this is a class half of who may not get through this class. I mean, how unmotivating can that be if you're a teacher saying, look, half of this class is not going to make it no matter what I do, right? And that's the history of the education that they've seen in that college system. So our advice is this. One, let's be aware of the risks, but please embrace AI. It makes things better if done right, right? I mean, all technology has that nature, right? Every technology I've ever encountered. Today we have mobile phones. It's an amazing technology that has brought people together closer. You can call your friends or your family anytime, anywhere. We also know that it's caused addiction, uh, and some created a video generation that can with TikTok and short video formats that where people have started reading books, which you and I grew up absolutely devouring books, right?
Mhm.
And now we have people who can refinish a book.
Yeah.
So you know that as well as I do, right? That this is a technology that could go bad or could go well. So from our perspective, embrace it if you can truly trust that it will not be misused. Please embrace AI. That's my first point, and that's MathGPT AI. It sounds like a plug for our product, but I genuinely believe that this is the problem with all technology, and you have to vet yourself and trust it, and if so, embrace it. That's my first point. The
Mhm.
second point is I actually believe that you can turn math from, as a community college teacher, from a subject that people hate and just are struggling with and just like, oh my God, I wish I could just get through this and someone please help me, right, with this thing that I have to do. I have to take statistics to be a nurse. I'm never going to use this stuff again. One of the things that we allow instructors to do in MathGPT AI is give you practice problems and assignments, and you can choose, oh, I'm a sports person. Can you reframe this math problem in terms of, let's say, a swimming pool and its length and how long it would take me to do 16 laps if I'm learning linear equations? So suddenly the technology can become very relevant in your life as opposed to this. That's what I would encourage. Make the problems and the topic relevant, right? If you don't make it relevant, it remains like so many students say, well, I'll never use math again, right? And that's a problem, right? So my advice is use this tool and say, hey, describe the way you'd like to solve this core math concept in life and hobby terms that you'd like, and the AI will then give you that problem that way. And really use that capability, because you don't have to now design 16 problems in sports and gardening and this and that. The AI will do that. So why not make it relevant for the student? So
I
those are my
love,
two things, right?
I
Use
love
it.
it.
If you trust it, make it relevant for the student. Suddenly we have, I think, a game changer in this gateway age of early college in math.
Peter, it has been such a pleasure meeting you and interviewing you on the podcast today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure for me, and what a great topic. And I just love your other podcasts as well. So I'm hoping to get all these podcasts together, out to your audience, and let's kind of make math, especially American STEM education, better together. Thank you.
I love it. Thank you so much. And a reminder, everybody heard it. Peter's coming back. So
With outcome data.
stay tuned for part two.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Talk to you soon
everybody.
again. Bye bye.
Thanks for listening to the Learning Can't Wait podcast. If you like what you heard, please rate, review, and share this episode. Be the first to know when we have a new episode by subscribing wherever you listen to podcasts. If you'd like to be a guest on the show or have a suggestion for an episode, email us at podcast@fullmindlearning.com.